Nick Banks, thanks for joining me on this particular live session that we're doing, kind of right across Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're here today to talk about the Men's Inner Warrior workshop that we're presenting on October the 30th. Thanks for joining me.
Hey, so glad to be here, PF. I love these conversations. We've been talking a lot over the last little bit on a lot of this stuff, and it just gets the juices flowing. It's such a typical topical conversation at the moment. Lots of men in lots of different places right now.
Isn't it the truth, right? So, as we push this out to our community, our RAIN community, plus the Everyday Millionaire community and Mindset Matters and all the work that we're doing, this is really a new initiative. It's a kind of a vision I had many years ago about bringing a group of men together to really develop, to be their greatest selves, to live their best lives by design. Now, there's questions that have shown up and, but let me give it a little bit of context. Why this particular initiative? Why now? First off, we're launching it. We're in Langley, British Columbia on October 30th. We're bringing a group of men together in that kind of environment, if you will. We're creating an environment. We'll see if it rolls out across other cities and see where we go with it. But this is, really our beta test into it all. We've done these workshops before, but I'd like to take it up and pick it up a notch, given what is going on in the world. It's divisive, it's polarizing, it's confusing, it's uncertain. It is really a kind of an environment that for many men who are by nature often providers, just by who we are as men, and it can be a little worrisome. And so how do we create an environment for them to step into and to share and grow and have conversations with other men, but really develop? So that's the intention overarching, and what's behind it is getting grounded in the right environment.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Patrick. I mean, I do some work with men. I run a men's group over here in Victoria, involved with a men's, kind of organization that's throughout North America now called the Arc of Brotherhood. It's phenomenal. Primarily more kind of younger men, but at the same time, men who are, kind of dealing with exactly what you're talking about. And there's a whole range. Like, this is what I find really interesting, right? Is like, there's this range of men. Some men are they're deep into the study of, what that means to be into men's work and, kind of deep down that hole. And then there's other men who are just like, I'm not sure. I just know that something's not quite going the way that I would love to go. And I need the support of other men, or I need to be out around other men. And often they'll come in with some of these questions, but like, what's self-realization? Some of these, there's a whole bunch of terms and all sorts of things that come around, kind of in this work, if you will, which is a great question. So what is self-realization? Like, what does that mean to you, Patrick? Like, in the
let me break it down from my perspective. I mean, self-realization is a big definition, but ultimately it is, realizing and coming to, I guess, understand who you really are, your truest self, if you will. What are your values? What is important to you? What do you see as a vision for your life? How do you want to show up as a man, as a husband, as a son, as a brother? Like, who are you in the context of your life? And then being able to define that. And self-realization is getting to that conclusion and then living your life in alignment with those values, with that self-realization. Here's the thing, I don't know many men, or I'm not surrounded by many men who don't want to do more, do better, have a better life, create more for their family, create more in their relationship, have a more powerful relationship. And, that takes work. It takes learning. It takes education. It takes investigation of who we are. And so, for that evening, we're going to really dig into understanding what our values are and what our values are. They ours, or are we living someone else's values? Where's fulfillment? How do we become healthier, wealthier, live more a life of joy? And how do we create a community of like-minded men? I've had probably a half dozen conversations in the past, 60 days, Nick, where guys sat across, they're 35, 40 years old, early 40s, late, they all pretty young to me these days. But the point is this: we have these great conversations and they go, I just love to be able to have these conversations. But when I try and have them with my peer group, my friends, the guys I work with, even my family, they look at me like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Why does this,
Right.
what are you talking about?
Right.
Like, you know, you're
Yeah.
too deep. You're too
Yeah.
deep. And it's like, no, I'm not too deep. I want to know. I want to
Yeah.
know and be better. And I want
Yeah.
to grow and develop as a man.
Yeah.
And so that really is, to me, it's all like encompassing in what self-realization is.
100%.
And then, you know, us providing the tools to.
Yeah. I mean, I
support
think
people doing
that's such a huge, you know, I'm totally aligned with everything you said there about self-realization. That's absolutely, you know, consistent with how I look at things and approach things in the work that I have been doing with men, you know, over the last little while. But I think you tied it in there at the end, which is, you know, the everyday, this world right now does not call for, you know, doesn't call for men to create and have the structure to have those things that they realize, right, in the self-realization part. It's like you get the this is where I want to go, and then the world is pulling us in different directions. Like it's not there to kind of really support that. So what can we create in terms of an architecture or support, something to have those conversations continue and expand and really get, you know, maybe there's some accountability that's required as well. All of those things. Like that's where the real power and the real juice comes from.
You know, I wish I would have learned a lot of lessons a lot earlier in my life. But here's the thing, you know, I've been in business 40 years. I've coached and worked with literally thousands of real estate investors, small business owners, and one-on-one, one-on-many, on stage, off stage. I've done it all in that regard. And what's interesting about all of this is that, you know, many people, many men, because we're talking to men here primarily, are looking for how. That's the question. Just tell me how. Yeah. And that isn't the answer. No. It isn't how, it's who. You know, I know it's cliche. We've all seen the meme before. It's not the goal. It's who you have to become to achieve the goal. Right. That is really what it's all about. Who you are that got you where you are today can't be the same person that gets you to where you want to be in 5 years. As a matter of fact, I just did a coaching session with a guy yesterday who's in a big transition in his life. He's 58 years old, been in an industry for like, I think almost 40 years, more like 35 years. And, you know, he's a guy behind the desk. He was a general manager. He was on the tools. He worked the field. He was doing all the things. That's who he was. His reputation is impeccable. He's known for things. Well, he left that. He was done, you know, 58. He says, no, I'm going to pack it in. What showed up for him, and this is so interesting, was a cool opportunity in that industry to bring innovation into the industry that could literally change the industry. And he got the Canadian rights for distribution. And I worked with him yesterday, and we had to get him past the fact that this is who you were. And I said to him, I said, you know, son, I want you to picture when you go into this, you know, event that you're going to this week, I want you to picture, who does the person need to be that people are going to have a different conversation with? Because your peers, all those people, you know, they're going to talk to you as if you're that guy that's been on the tools, in the trenches, in the field, the general manager, that operational guy. And that's not who you are. That doesn't work for where you want to go. You actually have to have a conversation about your vision. You are the CEO and the innovation and how this is going to change the industry. So you got to show up that way. And it was like, it really blew his mind, and he got it, you know, the concept of it. And we worked through a couple of exercises, and it's really powerful. But that's what showing up is. And that's where self-realization is, whatever you're doing in your life. And so long-winded, but I wanted to give you that context.
Yeah, no, I love it, Patrick. I love it. I love it. This is, you know, and I could, you know, share a little bit about a gentleman I was talking to yesterday, sharp guy, corporate, you know, big corporate, big bureaucracy, you know, struggling though with some of the bureaucracy, some of the challenges in that place. He has some ideas. He has some visions about where he does want to go eventually. And, you know, it's a struggle. And so, you know, kind of getting back in touch with like the values, as you say, recontextualizing what we're doing, looking out, creating the vision that you want to step into, letting, and to your point about the gentleman you were just talking about, he has that history that should inform, like you don't throw that out. That's an experience. It's all valuable, right? And it's got him to where he is today. But, you know, it's just really just stepping into and doing what, you know, kind of what there is to do, doing, like, you know, it's cliched and it's used a lot, but it's doing the work.
Well, you know, the night that we've got coming up is going to give you some tools to work with so that you can go, you know, we use the phrase from doubt to dominance. And there's another phrase that I like to use, which is that confidence is rarely owned. It's almost always borrowed. And when
Yeah.
you put yourself in a culture of support, when you surround
Sure.
yourself with like-minded men in this case, you can borrow a lot of confidence, and to know that you're not alone, that others are facing their challenges as well, and many similar
Oh,
challenges,
dude.
whether it be family or money or health. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into it, right, Nick? You know that.
Yeah.
And for $20, it's a drop in $20. And I'm only saying
Come
20
on.
bucks so people show up, because
This
people
is
have a
crazy.
tendency to register and not show up. And they're not going to blow off $20. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that much.
Yeah.
So for 20
Yeah.
bucks,
Yeah.
show up at the door. It's going to be probably a 2.5 hour night. And you're going to learn a ton, meet some cool cats, and walk away with some really clear tools and next steps that you can take.
Yeah.
Nick, I could leave it with you. How do you
I'm
want to?
just gonna add, Patrick, like, that point about, you're not alone, right? Like, and then I hear it almost every single time, I start to do some new work with somebody, or somebody's in the group or something. It's like, oh God, I've had all these things and I thought I was so alone. I thought I was the only one that had these problems or these challenges or these experiences. And it's like, okay, guys, put up your hand. Does anybody else had this experience? Every hand up in the room, right? And suddenly that feeling like, oh shoot, I'm not alone. Just so powerful.
It is, and at the end of the day, most are looking to be wealthier, healthier, happier, again, to have powerful relationships and great friendships, and also friendships that are aligned with your values, that you can have meaningful conversations with. And, as men, we need that as well. We don't have to carry the load all on our own. We got, strong backs and, wide shoulders and thick skin, and that's all great. But sometimes you need to get into a space where you can have conversations that really matter, that support you in your journey. So, Nick, I want to say thanks for this. Looking forward to October 30th.
I'm looking forward so much to the 30th. This is going to be so great. So powerful.
If you're listening to this still, click on that darn link, get registered, join us in Langley, British Columbia. And it's going to be a great night of hanging out with some cool men and getting some cool tools to carry you forward in your life. Thanks, Nick.
Ciao, ciao.